Okay, so if you've come across my videos before, you'll know we spoke a lot about time pressure and the BMAT and how these two things really come together nicely in this exam. I thought it would be a really useful thing if I talk more in depth about time pressure and how to deal with it in the BMAT, because it's honestly one of the most understated things, and in actual fact, in my opinion, is the most important thing in the BMAT. Way above section 1 control, way above your science knowledge, way above your maths ability. Time pressure is the utmost, most important part of the BMAT. And if you don't do time pressure well, you're not going to get into the higher end of the BMAT scores, just because you're not going to be able to sit the exam well. And so this video is going to break down time pressure and give you some helpful tips and a helpful rule I use to get around this problem. Now, if you guys don't know who I am, my name's Akshi. I'm a second year Imperial College student currently studying medicine. And basically, this channel talks about everything to do with medical applicants. So if this is something that interests you, or if you're going to medical school and would like some tips about year 1, I do videos on that as well. So hit the red button down below and join us, because we're close to 500. So I would really love to see us get that number very quickly, because, you know, it makes me happy. So yeah. That sounded really weird. So yeah, let's get into the video straight away. Let's not beat around the bush. We're going to split this video up into 2 parts again. What is time pressure and why it's really difficult, and also how you can manage time pressure really effectively in this exam. So yeah, you can click to any part of the video which you like. They'll be in the description down below. I won't be hurt by that. You can really just click on any part of the video you want, and yeah, let's get straight into it though. So what is time pressure? Time pressure is effectively what happens when you let the timing of an exam impact your performance and questions. And it's a very common thing to happen to everyone, and you'll all come across it when you sit an exam. Now, exams are timed in order to differentiate people based on how quickly they can answer a question. So somebody can answer a question in 5 hours, but someone else can answer it in half an hour, so the second person is going to be better equipped to answer questions on this topic. And the BMAT does this better than anyone really, because what it does is it times you, it gives you just about a minute per question, just under a minute per question in section 1, and just over a minute per question in section 2, and it really neatly gives you time to do the questions, but also it means that a lot of people will tend to get stuck on questions and just reduce their time later on. So time management isn't really about the BMAT controlling the timings. The timings are really under your control, and it's about how you distribute the time through the questions. And a lot of people just don't take enough consideration into this, and it's why I think a lot of people tend to underperform on the BMAT when they just did really well on their exam. Now let's move on to some tips and tricks and the rule I use. So the tips and tricks I would say are really to be able to navigate time well. So I use a rule called the 55-second rule for section 2 and the 45-second rule for section number 1. Now the reason why I use these rules are I always split the timing up. So I know that in section 1, for example, I'm going to have about just under a minute to do each question. And so I don't give myself just under a minute, I give myself about 45 seconds, because I know, yes, that'll give me more time pressure per question, but it gives me a good few minutes at the end to come back and do questions that I just couldn't do because I don't have the time. And this rule does really mean that you have to be rigorous. So if you have reached 45 seconds and you're not just about to finish a question, or you're not a few lines of working away from it, move on. I know it can be really annoying because you've just missed out on a mark. What I say is always put an answer down, because you've got a decent chance of getting it right anyway, and then just move on, because honestly there are going to be questions at the end that you can do, but they've just been placed strategically so people can't access them. So what's really important is that you stick to this timing, stick to the 45 seconds in section 1, stick to the 55 seconds in section 2, and be able to do these questions while having a decent amount of minutes left at the end, so that you as a person can access those marks that you maybe weren't able to do the first time around because you just didn't have enough time. Also, what I say is to always skim through the paper first, and when I say skim, I don't mean do, I mean skim. Literally flick through the paper, you know, if there are any questions that jump out to you and say, hey, that looks really easy, let me just do that first, because it gives you an idea of what's in the paper, as opposed to just going through question 1 first and sort of not knowing what's coming up ahead in the question. Especially for section 1, it can be really good to do this, because if there's a really short, small question right, you know, at question 31, you know, that's an easy question, just do that. You don't have to do the questions in order they give it to you, they just give you an order to do them. But you know, the order of questions that you do is really up to you. So like I always say, skim the questions first and then have a go again. And finally, split up the questions. Let's go through section 1 first. So section 1, like I said earlier in other videos, which you can see here, they tend to give you questions that aren't ordered, are not split up by section. They just give you 32 questions and that's it. Now, these questions are actually split up, so they tend to go into problem solving, critical thinking. And if while you're practicing, you practice these questions and actively think each time you do a question, is this problem solving or critical thinking, you will be able to identify like that which type of question this is. And so if you know you're really good at critical thinking, when you're doing the questions, skim the question. Does it look like a critical thinking question? If it's not, maybe don't do it. Maybe have a go at it, but if you can't do it, leave it. And if it is one, go for that question, because you know you're really good at that type of question. And the same applies if you're good at any other type of question in section 1. Now, if you don't know what the subtypes of questions that they can give you in BMAT are, because they never say this explicitly, have a look at this video where I go through every single type of question that you can be given in the BMAT section 1, or there's also a transcript of that video basically, which is the BMAT section 1 guide in the description down below. But I do go into detail a lot more than the guide does, so if you want to, feel free to click on that video, which will be a card somewhere here. Cool, so section 2 does this a lot more easily. Now, they don't actually split the questions up, but you can tell what's a biology question and what's a maths question. And what they do is they give you cycles, so they'll tend to start with a biology, chemistry, maths, physics, and then they'll go again, biology, maths, chemistry, physics, biology, maths, chemistry, physics. I don't know exactly what the order is, but you'll start to find out that there is an order to these questions in section 2. And once you find the order, you can sort of just go through the biology ones first, then go through the maths ones first. And there are 2 reasons why you should do this, because A, it means you don't have to switch between types of questions constantly, and you know, you can do all the biology questions in one go and then come back and do maths. And also, it means that, you know, if you're really good at chemistry, but you're not so good at physics, it means that you can just do the chemistry questions straight away. And you can leave the physics questions to the end, where you can come back and look if there are any easy ones. So I would really recommend splitting up the questions and doing them in groups, because it helps you manage time a lot better. So that's everything in terms of tips. Now, that might seem very quick and brief and, you know, rapid, but that is really everything you need to know about time management. It shouldn't be really tricky, because the key with time management is always to make it work to your own sides. So, for example, if you're somebody who operates better with critical thinking and, I don't know, maths, do those questions first. Also, make sure you're sticking to those rules of 45 seconds and 55 seconds. So if you do get stuck on questions, you know that you're going to have time at the end because you're sticking to that rigorous timing. And yeah, I think that should give you a clearer idea of what time management is. Now, if this video sort of doesn't make much sense to you and you want to clarify a little bit more, feel free to send me a message on Instagram. Also, the comments section is down below, all open to you guys for asking questions. So yeah, feel free to do that, and also enjoy the video. And also, if you want more information about section 1, section 2, or a guide to the entire BMAT, I do videos in every single one of them. They're pretty much all here, and they'll all be in the description down below. So that BMAT playlist is available. And also, if you want any more sort of videos on this, please let me know. Do like the video, and also, like I said, hit that red button down below. I would love to get to 500 if you guys, you know, would let me get there. So yeah, if you haven't already hit the red button, please do, and I will catch you in another video. See you later.